Hi, this is Geeky Vices, and I'm J-Belle. Here I'm going to be talking about what's my latest pop culture venturing. So, what's my latest Geeky Vice? White collar. So, background a few weeks ago, I was really sick. I was very much living on the couch. I had one of those headaches where every time I moved, like the blood rush, and it would be just painful throbbing. So, getting up or down was something I had to minimize. So, I was stuck laying down and needed to be entertained. So I need to figure out something to watch that I'd seen before, so that way if I fell asleep it wouldn't be a big deal, and also I could depend on it being mostly audible, so that way I could be closing my eyes or rolling my side or something if I needed to. So that ruled out watching most anime unless it was something dubbed. And yeah, I need something that was also going to entertain me. So I picked White Collar. One reason is that also it was about to be taken down from Netflix. Secondly, I had seen it, but I hadn't watched it as excessively as I had a lot of other series. I know I'd seen like the first two, three seasons several times, the fourth season probably like two or three times, and then the fifth and sixth season I'd only seen once. So this is not one of those shows where I'd watch it excessive enough where people would roll their eyes and be like, J-Belle, really? But yeah. So part of the reason I like White Collar is I grew up with my mom watching a lot of detective shows and like adventure shows. So like I watch a lot of things like Columbo and Murder She Wrote and Diagnosis Murder. So I like those kind of like light-hearted mystery crime solving type of things where it's not too dark and gritty. I'm also a sucker for the roguish type that's actually a good guy and got a good heart. So like like the whole Robin Hood type or um, Wesley and Inigo and Fezzik from The Princess Bride. It's like I like those like good-hearted rogues who's like, yeah, they have the skill set and they sometimes do shady things, but they're gonna help out people in the end. So that's part of the appeal of White Collar, and it's great casting. I honestly, Matt Bomer is beautiful. I seriously someday want a photo shoot where it's just him and Wentworth Miller just looking at each other like with total bedroom eyes, partially because like they are both openly gay actors, but also because like they both have such amazing intense eyes in this. I just want like a great photo shoot with that. That would be like my that would just be like one of my little random that would make me happy fantasy type things. But yeah, it's like as I said, it's not like I'm being like, oh, I want to see them make out. It's like no, I just want them like giving each other like sexy bedroom eye looks. So yeah, so he does a great job. It's kind of makes me think of like watching like a magician, like how it's like the great sleight of hand and the misdirects and everything. Um, I've always been, it's not popular to admit this, but I've always been a fan of Tiffany Amber Thiessen, although Dyson, although I think she's dropped the Amber a long time ago. But yeah, I grew up with Saved by the Bell. I didn't watch as much of Beverly Hills 90210 once she joined, but she liked her in that. I loved her this. Like she was a heart of the show, big part of the heart of the show, and yeah, I've always been a fan of hers. And then I love how Mark Sheppard has a recurring role in it. He is amazing. I love him as like the adversary. He was great in. I mean, obviously he's great in White Collar, but I mean he's especially great in also Leverage and in Supernatural. Like I love Crowley, and so Mark Sheppard is amazing. Yeah, they have a lot of other great casts. Like I love how like the character of Diana Berrigan, like she's this badass lesbian, but like it's the fact that like it's part of who she is, but it's not what defines her. Although I do find it weird how in both first and fifth season, their big thing with her character was basically having her only show up at the very beginning, very end, and then she was basically gone most of the time. And I will say I don't like some of the direction they went with Mozzie in the later seasons, where it's just like I think they just went a little bit over top with like him just constantly being at Neil's, stealing his wine, and everything. But no, overall it's a solid series. I think it's just like it petered out a little bit towards the end, and but I mean that's what happens with the show, and I think it's also sometimes like after it's been on for a long time. I think it's also like the fact that you totally get the impression they didn't know between fifth and sixth season if they're getting renewed, especially since they got so few episodes. And I didn't like how they were making a big deal about how Elizabeth was going to be in DC at the National Art Gallery because that was her dream job. and in the first episode she's back, and I realized, yes, it's a good reason to be back, but it's like, can't you have maybe done 2-3 months of like living out your dream job before coming back home, because to like have the family, because you're never gonna have that time to yourself for until the kid's completely grown, and I think that would be a good example for your child, but whatever. And yeah, I think the series ended in a solid note. I do personally imagine that someday Neil will go off to London to find Sarah, because I loved Hilary Burton as his love interest in third and fourth season, and Sarah Ellis, because she's badass, and I don't know, she just has this like witty toughness to her, and they had just such great chemistry versus the love interest in fifth season. Yeah, I realized there was a lot of drama with that, but like with that, I felt like I remember when it first started, and I will admit there was a major twist in the fifth season that I did not see coming. I'm usually one of the people who's very good at seeing twists coming pretty early on, but I will say I just felt it was so heavy-handed and forced, their relationship, and now that I know what the big twist is, it makes sense, but it's still was frustrating watching, especially since it's like, no, Sarah was way more awesome. But yeah, it's a great show. As I said, unfortunately, it just came down off of Netflix, but I do highly recommend if you like kind of fun action, like great stunts. Like there's times where like they're like base jumping off a roof, or like there's great like sleight of hands of like, so, like if you like really well choreographed things, and also like well choreographed heists, and just like the trying to outwit each other, like it's fun, and it's like it's not too heavy. Because sometimes like some of those like shows are trying to be too nitty gritty. It's pretty light, and I do like the dynamic between Peter and Neil. Like I think that's really a big part of the heart of the show. I mean, there's a lot of heart to it, and yeah, it's one of those really unique shows. Although I will recommend, like I did mention the show briefly earlier, but I do recommend if you are a fan of White Collar, you should check out Leverage. That one's also amazing, especially Parker and Hardison. And I do actually want to create a D&D character that's inspired by Elliot, because I love the idea how he is always like, be like, how do you know this person's from this part of the world? It's like, from his walk. It's a very distinctive walk. So, yeah, I definitely recommend that. And yeah, that's been one of my latest geeky vices. So, thank you everyone for watching. Until next time, enjoy your own geeky vices. Bye.